Hi there, it's Nicole here today, and I am sharing this card featuring adorable little bees with a Nuvo Mousse background using some of the Honeybee Stamps Hexi Patterns background stencil. I really love the Nuvo Mousse. It creates these beautiful backgrounds that are a little less perfect maybe than you would get with inking or something like that, and some awesome texture. And the mousse is nice, and it can be as thin or as thick as you want. My mousse is a little thick out of my jar, plus I've injured my finger, so I really apologize for this really messy way that I am applying the mousse through the stencil on some smooth white cardstock here. My finger was basically useless the whole day. I really sliced it open kind of bad. And I'm right-handed, and I just had a terrible time. I did try off camera to use my left hand, and it was not working. The palette knife I'm using, I really like, but I think maybe when the mousse is thick like this, I should probably use a metal palette knife, and I'd had a little bit better luck. I did not think of it until later. In fact, what I ended up doing, and I felt like I had a lot more control, is I took some of the Nuvo Mousse, placed it right on my project, and I kind of used my finger to spread it around. I think if it warms up just a little bit, it's a lot easier to spread out if it gets a little thick like this. But really, I just did a nice thin layer. You want to still see some of that stencil showing through, or the stencil lines. I've taped my stencil down over my paper. I did trim down my background paper to the size I want before I put the mousse on. You can trim it down later because it does give a pretty thin application, but I generally like to try to do that beforehand. And you can see as I work with the mousse, it spreads a lot easier. So once I have this completely covered, you're going to want to go clean your stencil, your palette knife, your surface. I'm using a Tonic Easy Clean Matte here. You're going to want to clean everything up immediately so that product does not dry on your stencil and stain it too bad. A little warm water, sometimes a little soapy water works great. I did peel that up off camera. I apologize. I thought I did it on camera and I didn't. So I'm going to just move that aside for a second. I did pre-die cut a bunch of layers using the Honeybee Hello dies, and I will show you more of that when I put those together, but I am using all 3 layers of those Hello dies to really create a dramatic hello greeting on this card. Something that will really pop off of this awesome textured background. I'm also stamping a greeting from the Bee-You-Tiful Sentiments stamp set. My favorite from this particular stamp set, Buzzing By to Say, and I thought it would work beautifully with the hello greeting. I have stamped this on vellum using Versamark and heat embossed with gold embossing powder. This is really going to just tie into the whole card. Everything about this card has gold touches to it, from the background to my die cut layers and then this stamped sentiment. Next, I did stamp 3 of the bees from the Happy Fall Y'all stamp set. Even though this is a quote-unquote fall-themed stamp set, the bees in this can be used for anything. And what I love is these are smaller versions of the bigger bee stamp set from Honeybee. And so you can use a lot more of them on a card, and I think they're so fun. The colors of Copic markers that I'm using are shown down the right-hand side of the screen, starting with the yellows and oranges I used, which are yellow reds, all of them. I call them yellow, but these are really my favorites. As far as, I think they have some nice, probably red undertones, but I really like these. And then some warm grays, a little pink with R20 for the cheeks, R27 for the tongue hanging out of the one bumblebee, and then some blue-violet colors for the bumblebee wings. And that's really important in that first bumblebee that I colored. It's important for all of them, but that lighter area where the wing overlaps part of the bee's body. You can see that I tried to keep it lighter, and I even colored over that section with my blue violet 0000. It's got a ton of colorless blender in it, so it's automatically going to kind of push some of that ink out, and it really lightens it up, almost like you're looking through the bumblebee's wings to the body of the bee. Once I have all these guys colored, and it's really quick coloring, I am going to go ahead and use the Coordinating Happy Fall Y'all dies, die cut these cute little guys, and then we are going to start putting it all together. Such a fun little card here. I love using these bumblebees from Honeybee. I think they're really fun. So my first layer with the Hello die is gold, like a champagne gold glitter cardstock, and I'm going to lay that down. Then I die cut the next layer, the middle layer, from smooth white cardstock, and we're going to finish with the gold foil layer. And since this is a little more delicate, I'm going to use Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to add some glue to the back of this and pop that right there in the center of my layers. On a background like this, I think all 3 layers are great for really making that greeting pop. Then I have stamped and embossed that other phrase on some vellum. I'm going to tuck the one end, the left side, through the loop of the hello before that glue dries all the way, and then just kind of put something heavy on it. I'm using the acrylic block I used with the greeting to hold that down. Now, I originally thought I would pop the bees right on the card flat, and I started that, and I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. And as soon as I did it, I realized kind of my mistake. It would be fine, but I think a little dimension here will really make those bumblebees pop. So I'm going to use some foam adhesive squares behind these guys and pop them up. And it's almost like they're floating on the background this way. The little tiny bit of dimension that these Scrapbook adhesives, little foam adhesive squares give, add a huge difference. So let's go ahead and do that for both of these other guys. And once this is done, we only have finishing details left. So very, very easy. I think it would be fun to create lots of different backgrounds. I went a little traditional probably with the gold, doing kind of the honeycomb type of look, but you could do anything here. Just create some amazing backgrounds using the Honeybee stencils. Another idea I thought would be super fun, it's completely different than this one, is using some of the coffee stencils and creating a coffee background, and then using either the mug stamps or different images from the coffee and tea themed stamp sets, kind of very similar to this, but using all of those products and the coordinating sentiment stamp sets. I think that would be really fun too. We're going to just kind of secure that right side of the vellum strip. We've got our bumblebees down in place, and we're ready to kind of finish it off. I thought some Nuvo crystal drops would be great. I also want to really draw the attention to those bumblebees. I'm going to use a white opaque pen to draw in some little highlight areas. I'm going to use a black jelly roll pen to go over the eyes. Keep in mind, if you do take a black pen to the eyes, I like to make sure the jelly roll pen dries really well. It does take maybe a couple minutes. So I usually do that first and then come back to it and add those white highlights back into the bumblebee's eyes. Otherwise, their eyes look kind of funny, I think. I'm adding little highlights to the bodies of the bumblebees. Now the wings are, again, like I was mentioning as I was coloring the bees, really special, I think. And one of the ways I think we can really draw your attention to them, and what I originally thought I would do was take glossy accents, because that's kind of what I'm drawn to first. And then I thought, you know, I want them to be glittery, and I really want them to be glittery, but I want it to be some kind of a translucent glitter. And so I grabbed the Nuvo Crystal Drops White Blizzard Nuvo drops, and I'm just coloring over those wings with this. It's giving an awesome glittery touch in the finished card. You can see that glitter, it's amazing, but you can still see that blue violet Copic color underneath, which I absolutely adore. So this is a great product to not just even create just drops like we're going to do here in a minute, but you can actually apply that product over a section like I did the wings and really draw your attention to them. I'm going to finish my card now with a scattering of Nuvo crystal drops in pale gold, bright gold, simply white, and ebony. The ebony drops, I created a few drops here and there to start with, and then I decided to make some little bumblebee trails by making small drops coming from a couple of the bumblebees, which is a fun thing to do too. With a background like this, there wasn't really a good place. It's not flat, so I didn't feel like I could stamp some bumblebee trails, and because I think it probably wouldn't stamp very nice. And so I was trying to think of a way to create some movement or a sense of movement on the card, and the Nuvo drops are perfect for this. It's amazing to me because I absolutely love the look of enamel drops. I've loved them for years. But it's so awesome to be able to create your own in whatever size you want. And you can even create these awesome itty bitty tiny ones that work great and really make a huge impact on a card. So just a scattering of these all over, and here I'll get to making my little bumblebee trail here. Got to decide where I want to start. And just very quick kind of dab that down. We're going to make a little loop, come back around, and come off the side of the card. I think that really helps ground the images and, like I said, gives them a little sense of movement. Now, once all of this is dry, once we have all of our little drops, we want to take some scissors, snip off any of that excess vellum, and then take this panel and attach it to a white top fold card base to finish up this card design. So just snipping those ends. I don't really need to secure them any more than I already have as far as that vellum strip, because it's nice and secure going through the word hello, and then kind of at the right hand side I hit a little bit of glossy accents underneath that end, underneath some of the embossing to hold it down in place. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this unique stenciled background using a Hexi Patterns background stencil and some Nuvo Mousse. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please be sure to visit the Honeybee Stamps blog for more inspiration. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.